What's going on, everyone? So, the San Antonio Spurs are officially into the offseason. The NBA season is over. Credit the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning an NBA championship. Now it's go time, right? Obviously, the San Antonio Spurs, they ended up missing out on Kevin Durant, or, I see people that are like, oh, they never really wanted him. Whatever it was, they didn't get Kevin Durant. There's talks about them potentially landing Kevin Durant. They didn't get Kevin Durant. Now, what do the Spurs do? Do they stay the course? They do stay the course. Nothing wrong with that. Right? You just watched a team in OKC that kind of stayed the course. They ended up winning an NBA championship. But they also traded for some key guys, got some key pieces, key free agency signing, right? If you're the Spurs, there is a lot that I think you can take from OKC. But I do think that if you're the Spurs, you want to kind of look for, obviously, positional needs, both wing positions. I think ideally you need a power forward as well as a small forward. You could even, if you wanted to, move Wemby to the 4. I've talked about that, especially since he wants to take 8 to 10 threes a game. Probably best playing the 4. Every time I talk about Wemby playing the 4, I get comments that are like, Wemby can't play with another center. I completely disagree. I think it's very different when you're playing alongside a Rudy Gobert, who defensively is incredible, but can't score outside of 5 feet. And then, look, Zach Collins was so bad for the Spurs. Like, he probably should have been out of the league. He was actually very good for Chicago, which was surprising. It was like, man, if that Zach Collins actually showed up for the Spurs, like, Spurs probably would have kept him, right? So it was just, I think that was just more circumstances. Where if you actually get a skilled center, a Miles Turner, something like that. I know he kind of had a poor NBA Finals, but I think a lot of that was just matchups and kind of circumstance. And he also wasn't in the action the way that he was in, the previous rounds. I felt like even Indiana kind of phased him out at times and didn't have him as involved. Like, you look at the Knicks series, he was heavily involved in that series. Felt like he was just kind of there floating in this series. But nonetheless, right? You maybe even go look to get a center, and then that kind of slides Wemby to the 4, and then now you're just solving a 3. I think you definitely need some bench depth. No, but at the end of the day, it's development, right? You want to continue to develop Wemby. You want to continue to develop Stephon Castle. You want to continue to put yourself in the position to kind of build and grow the best team possible, but you also want to be open for those potential moves that present themselves. Right? The De'Aaron Fox trade is a great example. Spurs were very active last offseason in trying to acquire a point guard, a franchise point guard. They failed to land one, right? A lot of talks about Darius Garland and Trae Young and even De'Aaron Fox, and they ended up not landing any of them, right? They go and they draft Stephon Castle, and it was like, okay, Stephon Castle, he's gonna be the guy that they develop and kind of mold into their point guard. Fast forward, you look up, all of a sudden De'Aaron Fox becomes available, and they were able to make the move and get him really on pennies on the dollar, right? And that turned out to be a great acquisition and pickup for the long-term approach. He didn't really impact winning when they traded for him, but still, he was a guy that now we'll have a full offseason, a full training camp, full preseason, all of those things. So I think, it'll be fascinating to see kind of how does he kind of make the shift to a Spurs team playing alongside Wemby, Stephon Castle, assuming that they draft Dylan Harper, which is more likely. But again, you need to remain open. Look for those proper moves. Look for those proper trades. Free agency signings. Can you hit on a key guy or two? A Naz Reid. Can you maybe convince him and slide him into your 4 and have Naz Reid and a Victor Wembanyama at your 4 and 5? That could be fantastic, right? Maybe go get a Nickeil Alexander-Walker to just give you some 3-and-D bench depth, right? Maybe you even, because you're probably not going to be an apron team, maybe you go look to land a Jonathan Kuminga or something like that. We'll dive into various options and players and whatnot. Just kind of want to just have like a general conversation now that we're in the offseason. But you kind of see the consensus thought or that presented itself this postseason. And look, every postseason is different. Like if you go by last year's postseason, it's like shoot 53s and you win an NBA championship, right? It's like the year before that, have the best engine in all of basketball, and you don't even need a good defense. You just win a championship in Denver, right? Like Denver was just such a well-oiled machine offensively, second worst defense in all the playoffs, 15th in the league that year, and they ran through everybody, right? It's just, every year there's a different path. right? So the path that worked this year won't necessarily work last year. But I do think that there are certain commonalities and trends that will kind of show itself. Primarily the athleticism and versatility at the guard position and out on the perimeter, right? We are in a space and pace league. We are in an NBA where it is very important to have that speed, that versatility, that defense, right? You look at Team Indiana and OKC, they had multiple guard play, running 3, sometimes 4 guards. I mean, you saw OKC in this series and even Denver, right? Even the Denver series where they had Jalen Williams as their center surrounded by 4 guards and went tiny. But it's the floor spacing, the switchability, and they're guards that are just pesky and just get after it and get into the body of the ball handler and stuff. And they created all these turnovers and advantage points. I don't think that's going anywhere, right? Having that ability, you want to be chameleon-like. You want to be able to adapt and be whatever you need based on your opponent, right? You know, if a team is big, you want to be able to go big. If a team is small, you want to be able to go small. You want to be able to have that balance. But you know, you if you can have that just kind of relentlessness, that point of attack defense, it's why I think De'Aaron Fox will be great. And you know, as Stephon Castle, it's like that point of attack defensive anchor, those two guys just being relentless, right? Stephon Castle, I've talked very heavily about kind of being that Swiss Army knife. Can he be that guy that just can be relentless, create those turnovers, get advantage points, get advantage plays. You watch this NBA Finals, particularly Game 7, 22 turnovers. OKC shot 14 more attempts than Indiana. That was the difference in the game. They didn't shoot the ball great. They weren't lights out, but their defense was relentless, right? Shows defense wins championships still, but to have that versatility, to have that ability to, you know, just, again, create those advantage positions. And that's what I really want to see the Spurs continue to do, right? Well, more likely than not, they're going to draft Dylan Harper. Okay, great. But, you know, what else are you doing to start molding and shaping your team as well as your identity? Spurs, it's another big thing. Spurs need to create an identity. Something that I feel like they've really lacked the last few years is a true identity. Need to find out what are they going to do with Devin Vassell, right? Like, there's a lot of things that they're going to kind of need to figure out here. A lot of things that they're going to have to work on. And you know, if they play their cards right and they kind of figure it out, I do think that they're a team that, you know, I don't think anyone's really expecting them to win a championship this year, but I think that they're a team that can get into the playoffs, start taking those real strides as a team, right? Even if let's say you get rammed through in the first round, at least you made the playoffs. In a stacked Western Conference, you got some experience. You got to kind of get the, you know, that whiff of playoff basketball. You got to get the feel and the sense, and you know, kind of, you know, get the tangibles with it, right? Like that, I think would go a long way. Start building that opportunity. You saw it with OKC, right? Missing the playoffs, you know, being a first round exit, being, you know, a team that eventually, you know, loses in the second round, and then now they're in the NBA Finals and they win an NBA Finals. Right? You can follow that trajectory. You can follow that path. Just got to kind of, again, stay the course, be open and willing to, if the right thing presents itself, jump on it. If the right opportunity presents, why wouldn't you take it, right? There's opportunity there. Seize it, right? You want to be able to adapt to whatever's needed, right? But, you know, they have the talent. They have an incredibly talented, gifted basketball team. And it's just, again, can you find the complementary piece to put around your core guys? Right? If Giannis becomes available, you figure that out when that happens. Right? If Jaylen Brown becomes an option, you figure that out when it happens. But until we get to that spot where it's like, okay, these guys, again, start carving out and build out what you need. But again, identity is such an important thing. OKC, what was their identity? Being that relentless defensive menace, right? Like Indiana, what was their, again, same thing, pressing full court, right? Just relentless. We're not letting up. We're just gonna be in your pocket the entire time, right? Like that's what you want. That's what you need. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.